Hey everybody, it's Moose here, and today I have another interview for you guys. Here I'm with ThatSpiderBoy slash Khameleon Studios. He is a voice actor and an actor. He's just been he's also been a stop motion animator, and he's just been around the community for a while. And overall, he's just a really nice guy. So, thanks for joining me today, man.
No, thanks, man. It's great.
All right, so initially, I guess one of my first questions, you mentioned to me that you have been around in the community mostly. You done theater, you've been Spider-Man voice actor, you done some motion comics, which I'm a fan of your motion comics, and so
Yeah.
initially you are a big Spider-Man fan. So, what got you into Spider-Man, and essentially what makes you feel like lead you to be the Spider-Man voice actor that you're known for today?
Oh man, that's literally such a hard question. I love Spider-Man ever since I can remember. As a kid, I remember I had the first Raimi film on VHS, and I had some of the '90s series on VHS, and it would be on TV. I had tons of Spider-Man toys, and it's just I think it's one of the most relatable characters, that you can look up to as a kid, that you can really relate that, anyone can be under that mask.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like one of the most important things about Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And yeah, 100% because the whole voice acting thing kind of started out because I did impressions of cartoon characters and celebrities, and I taught myself how to do an American accent, and I uploaded this onto an Instagram page of mine. It's old, I think it's gone now, but I uploaded this American accent I did, and an animator contacted me, and it was a Lego animator contacted me about voicing Spider-Man, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'll do that. So I thought it was just this really small little production thing, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I remember like waking up the next morning, and it had 60,000 views, and I was like, what the hell? What just happened?
Yeah, I actually think that you or like you and a close friend of mine, you happen to know who MM Animations is by chance?
I've known him must have been 2 years now.
Oh yeah, so you two are really well known in the community for being Spider-Man voice actors, and you're both equally. I think you both are great at what you guys are doing because you do have different takes on the character, and
Oh yeah, we're totally different, and that's what I love about him.
that's what I just like about Spider-Man too, because I'm a Spider-Man fan as well. And well, I think one of my favorite films from Spider-Man is Into the Spider-Verse, where the biggest message, like you said, like anybody could be under the mask, so and anybody can essentially be Spider-Man, and I
Yes,
really stick with that message.
MM Animations and me have many talks, like banter back and forth about like when are we actually going to get to be Spider-Man together in some sort of
Mm-hmm.
like animation? Like it's bound to happen at some point. Like we'll star in something together at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I would definitely like to see that at some point for you two to do stuff together.
So would
So,
we.
so going on about your motion comics, you've done quite a few over the past years or so that you've been on doing stuff like you post them on Instagram, you post a couple on YouTube. So
Yeah.
what got you in doing the motion comics?
Oh yeah, I remember like the first one I think I saw. It was I don't know if you saw this, but there was a Death of Spider-Man. It was an Ultimate Spider-Man motion comic, where it's
Right.
like the death of Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that,
I've
but
seen
that was
that.
the first
Yes.
motion comic I'd seen, and this I thought like this was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't believe I'm looking at images of a comic, but I feel like I'm watching a cartoon.
Yeah, that's how I felt too when watching it.
And it wasn't officially produced or anything, and I was like, I just thought to myself because I had done a couple of courses in college for editing, so I literally just figured out how to edit with audio and video, and I was like, yeah, I could probably do one of those, and rolled around, and in I think it must be 2017 now, I created Spidey number one, the motion comic, where it was the second time I voiced Spider-Man as well. I got all these casts together, and I found voice actors on Instagram, on YouTube, and I there wasn't a giant cast, but it was just gobsmacked by the fact I had put a cast together and produced something on my own of this caliber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's now at 3,000-ish views.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of mental to think I have that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Considering that there's sometimes I've posted stuff and it would get like one of my most viewed videos I have has over like 4,000 views on it, and it's like, views to me is something where it's like where it makes me feel like I did something that I'm really proud of, especially if it's a project that you put your heart and soul into it. And I can tell you're really passionate about it, and I can tell that you really put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. So that's what something I can.
I didn't have a PC to edit on for my motion comics, and I still don't have a PC to edit on. Actually, all of my motion comics are produced on my phone. Mm-hmm. So what takes 3 days will take like 2 weeks for me.
Mm-hmm. So,
because I remember the files of that original one actually deleted themselves a couple of times.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So pretty rough process.
Oh yeah, I bet. I took some college courses learning about editing and stuff, and I used to be, before I got into going to school for, I'm wanting to do film and be a cinematographer. Before I started wanting to do that, I wanted to be an animator. So I learned about all these little things here and there. So I understand that why it can be seen as difficult. So
yeah.
So I also wanted to ask you a question, since you mentioned you are an actor and a voice actor, and you've done lots of acting in theater and such. And I've actually, fun fact, I used to do acting too. I used to be a lot in theater and such like that too. So I actually just want to know, so as an actor and / voice actor, what do you think is the most difficult to convey, to be acting on stage, or would it be a voice actor?
Well, the hardest part with doing both of those is there's kind of a difference when you're doing realistic acting and trying to switch between going back home and doing this really upbeat guy, hey, I'm Spider-Man and all this stuff is going on and it's crazy, and then going back to minimalist, just acting really serious. And there's two very, very different forms of acting right there, and you need to be able to switch between both of those pretty quickly, because I do a lot of short films, so I've been doing a lot of those. I did Pride and Prejudice in theater. Okay. I played main character for that. I also did Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. I also did main character for that. Mm-hmm. So I've done about 3 theater productions, and I'm working on a short film right now.
Is there anything you can tell us about the short film currently that you're working on?
Right now, there was a competition to send away a script to NI Screens, and this script, if they believe is good enough, they will sponsor it and give you £11,000 to make a film. So we're making a short 8-minute reel of a fight scene that's properly choreographed. There's proper costume and dialogue to send that away along with our script as a proof of concept. So basically to say, we're able to do this, you should pick us.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
So essentially it's like you said, you've been sponsored and everything by these people, so you can be able to make this whole thing happen.
They sponsor really cool. Tiny little filmmakers that want to make something bigger. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's awesome. I'm glad you got that opportunity.
And, it's great here. Mm-hmm. Opportunity for filmmakers now. It's amazing how much this entire country has changed to better. People that want to go into doing film and TV and performing, it's crazy how much it's changed. Because Game of Thrones is filmed here all the time in Northern Ireland. The majority of that show is filmed here.
So I also just wanted to ask, essentially, you probably played a lot of roles in your lifetime, and
yeah.
And initially, I just wanted to ask you is what it has to be aside from Spider-Man. It can be from voice acting, it can be from actually acting in theater, whatever, or from short films. What has to be some of your favorite roles that you've played?
Well, one of the favorite roles that I played was in a play called Curious Incident of Dog in the Nighttime,
Mm-hmm.
which is a story that follows I believe, yeah, I think he's 15. He's a 15-year-old boy called Christopher Boone. He has autism.
Mm.
In the way this child sees them as an autistic individual. So there's a grid like on stage, and me as my character have to walk only within inside this grid because he's sort of OCD and he's very smart. He thinks about everything mathematically and the way he talks, and it's just such an interesting and fun character to play.
Mm. Okay.
And there's so many like little moments that he thinks he's being serious, but to everyone else, it's there's almost like a lack of empathy and social propriety that isn't there. But it's very funny for the audience to witness, and it's a beautiful spectacle. And I was so glad to be a part of that.
Yeah, it actually sounds like a pretty fun role to play. And considering that there aren't a lot of roles where you like get to kind of convey like I mean there's not a lot of plays or film that really go really into it. There's more and more doing it, but like going into like the idea of somebody struggling with a disability like autism. And I just find that interesting. So would you say that playing that character gave you some new perspective on like how people
Well, see,
struggle?
I think as well, I actually do have autism, you see, but not
Really?
nowhere near as high on the spectrum that
Mm-hmm.
Christopher, this character Christopher has.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is very minor, but this character Christopher is he finds it very hard to function
Mm-hmm.
socially with people and keep relationships with people because he's so direct.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like thinking about what he's saying. He just says what's on his mind,
Okay. Yeah.
and it gets him into a lot of trouble.
Mm, yeah, I used to struggle with that too. I have autism too, so
Yeah,
I understand what that's like. I'm not as major on the spectrum as much as I used to be when I was younger, so I can
yeah,
understand um, from that perspective at least like how what that character would be like, and yeah,
yeah.
so
Because during the production of that, I just remember a lot of talks between me and the actual, the crew and people like the producers and stuff. And I was like, I was very careful about my approach to it because I didn't want to overplay it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And do you know what I mean? Like try
Mm-hmm.
and just like make a stereotype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was like my biggest worry. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like paint and kind of like this is what autistic people are like.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to like this is how Christopher is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I actually wrote and well, my friend has written a script, and it was about essentially his brother was him and his brother was dealing with their father dying,
Mm-hmm.
and the younger brother has autism, and he still doesn't fully understand about his brother dying and his father dying. My bad, and and the funny thing is, the actual younger brother does have autism, and I was trying to help out and essentially saying, this is like, I've dealt with this kind of thing before. So I was saying this is essentially, I think, the more realistic way, and try not to be. He didn't want to portray a stereotype. He wanted to make it seem like this is somebody that's dealing with disability, but it's also they're a person, dealing with
Mm-hmm.
struggle just like anybody else.
Yeah,
So and yeah, I actually yeah, I feel like any kind of topic dealing with somebody dealing with anything, you don't want to portray them in a way where it's not villainizing, nor also you don't want them to seem like this is what all of them are like.
yes, exactly.
So, and I actually You told me a bit about a few roles, like you played the Joker, correct? Like
I
you played,
did, yeah.
yeah,
I
you,
did for a short film. I
yeah,
played the Joker. I had makeup on. It was like, you know, the makeup from Jerome from Gotham. It was like the
yeah.
staples on my
That's yeah. When you
face.
sent
Yeah,
me
yeah,
pictures, yeah, when you sent me pictures about it, I was like, oh, it's like
yeah.
Jerome. Yeah. So I was gonna ask about that. Essentially, what was it like playing the Joker or Jerome or whatever that version of the Joker
Yeah,
is? So what was
that
that
was
like?
crazy. To say the least, that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
To basically I just remember when I locked myself in my room and I just laughed for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I laughed to myself, and I have this thing where like I would even scream. Okay, so I scream for about 10 minutes or so, and my voice becomes hoarse. And I use that because when I laugh, it's really wheezy and it sounds beautiful on camera, and my voice is really deep and dark. And that was seemed to be the only way for my to force that voice out of myself,
Mm-hmm.
really. But it really worked and it really translated on screen. And I enjoy playing that part so much because even off set, I just enjoyed walking around with some of the other cast, laughing to myself. It was great scaring the other folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can understand that too. I mean, like, there was a role I played when it was in high school. It was for a short film, and I've never got to play a villain before, and so
Yeah.
playing a villain is so much fun. Like
Oh yeah.
it's like I play in like different character roles. Like I played LeFou in Beauty and the Beast one time,
Hmm.
and I got to play as a like it was in the western. It was like in the western. I got to play like a cowboy sheriff, and that was a lot of fun. And so playing a villain in this role, he was kind of like very serious, kind of stoic, very kind of calm and collective, but kind of similar to the Kingpin and Daredevil.
Yeah.
So like playing that kind of role was a lot of fun, man. And like it's like what I like about acting and voice acting is like you get to try to be somebody else for a second,
Yeah.
and I that you get to transform yourself and really try to become that character, and that's what I really like about acting and voice acting.
I remember like saying all the time, and I still stick by this. Like I really want to play Genie from Aladdin, but I'm like this 5'5" skinny brown dude with giant hair, and I was like, it's never gonna happen. If anything, I'll be end up being Aladdin.
Mm.
It's like that's just like no way could I play Genie, but like I get to play. I in real life with live action stuff, I get typecast as a villain because funnily enough, I just have this really stern look. I have an awesome bad guy face, I guess. But with voice acting and all, there's I get to play the good guy with SpiderMan. I'm working with I think it's Magosa Productions. I don't know if you've heard of
Okay.
him. He's doing like a Superman stop motion, and he's building this entire universe, and I'm playing Nightwing
Oh,
for
nice,
this. But I don't even
nice.
think his Superman one's out yet. But like, it has an IMDb and everything,
Mm. Yeah, you
so that's
also
really
you have
I'm
an
looking
IMDb
forward to that.
page, correct? Yeah, actually. I was sorry to interrupt. I was just saying you have an IMDb page, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I just think that's actually really cool that you have one. I just think
Yeah.
that's like anybody that can. I don't know. I just think that was really cool. Um, but continue what you're saying. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, about the IMDb page, that's super easy. Like if people try to flex that they have an IMDb page or like that means literally nothing because you can go on to IMDb, create a project, cast yourself in it, and then boom, you have an IMDb page.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really like bragging rights really for anything. Because that's like one of my like pet peeve things. Like I don't like to brag really. About I promote stuff because I want people to see it, not because I want views or money. It's just I uploaded that motion comic with the pure intention, thinking if it got 5 views for the entire duration that it was on YouTube.com,
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy because I know that those 5 people, if they liked it, enjoyed themselves watching that video. That's
Okay.
always what it's been about for me.
Yeah.
It's just entertainment, providing entertainment for people that are fans of this genre.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, so I think it's really interesting. So I also just wanted to ask you essentially, where I think I remember you promoting on your Instagram that you were having a podcast. Uh,
Oh yeah.
so I wanted to ask you essentially what you and your and I forgot the other person's name. Correct me. Please correct me. You and a friend of yours doing a podcast. So, is there anything you can tell us about the podcast? If it's still going on, or is it something
Oh
that
yeah. This is a channel I started. Or I said I started. It was called, and it was supposed to be like gaming stuff, but like it's basically me, my friend Luke, my friend Daniel, and we all do this. We're doing a podcast now because we hang out all the time, and we've done podcasts before, but it's just like funny things that come off the top of our head, and we say and we do funny voices. It's in the vein of Game Grumps and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and Only Plays and Super Mega, those kind of channels. It's kind of the same kind of vein where we just talk about our lives and little personal stories that we think is funny and have a laugh, and that's basically what it was about. I sort of revamped the channel there quite recently. I paid an artist for commission for brand new art for the channel. It's got a brand new logo. I'm planning to meet up soon to record this podcast and shooting on up there. But it's just really three dudes having a laugh, and hopefully people will laugh watching it too.
Yeah. I actually MM Animations and I are working on a podcast currently too, and I love podcasts. I like listening to podcasts when I work and when I'm just like traveling or whatever. And so like I'm up for listening to new podcasts. So I just didn't see anything else about it, so that's why I asked about it. So I was interested, so I just totally forgot about it. That's completely my fault.
Yeah,
So
it's
uh,
one of those like situations where like you write down or you just every time we meet up we have an even crazier story.
mm-hmm.
An even crazier story. I'll tell you one here that I have for the podcast. It was my friend Luke, who's on the channel with me. He lives in an apartment, right?
Right.
And he had recently had a mice infestation. Okay.
Oh no.
So this guy thought it was a great idea, right? He's like, I need to get rid of these mice. They're scaring the shit out of me. I need to get them out of this apartment.
Okay.
So he took the vacuum cleaner, right? And sucked up the baby mice in front of the mother, hoping that it would scare them away.
Oh my
And I was
god.
like, that is the most barbaric thing I've ever heard.
Oh my god.
That's so sick.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
Uh, yeah. I was like, you have no soul at
Oh
all.
my god. That actually reminds me of a story that happened years ago where well, my mother and I, we were living in a house at the time, and we live in an apartment complex now, but we used to live in the house, and back at our old house when I was young, we had bats that got into our house somehow. I don't know. I don't remember how, but there's these huge bats, and they were just hanging up in the ceiling. And I'm like, Mom, we need to get these bats out of here. So my mom, my mom, and it's similar. It's kind of similar to yours because there was a baby bat with the mom or dad bat. I think it was a mom. It was a mother, and my mom just had a broom. It was just hitting the bat, but she didn't. So she kept hitting the bat with the broom.
No.
Yeah, and the bats eventually left.
Collision.
We had the door open, but they left through the door eventually. But my mom just kept hitting this, and I'm like, "Don't hit the baby, hit the big one." Don't.
Go for the children first.
I'm like, why did people go for the children? They didn't do anything.
Because we're a messed up species, that's why.
uh, yeah, but yeah, I totally forgot about that story. You just brought up a whole new memory. That I just like, I must have repressed that or something because I don't know. I just totally forgot about that.
It happens.
Yeah, but I'm excited to listen to more of your podcast. I'll definitely be checking it out and everything. I actually just wanted to ask you about you mentioned that you also used to do. I don't know if you still do it now, but you used to do stop motion animation. So, is there anybody that inspired you at the time to do stop motion animation? And if so, then how do you think that's affected you now in terms of being a creator?
Oh yeah, like I did stop motion when I was what 14, 15, kind of stopped when I was 16
Mm-hmm.
because at 16 I realized by looking at the footage and I was like, this is complete garbage. This is garbage. So like I was like I don't know, I think I just because I kept on trying to get better and better and it's like I think it's just the passion for it wasn't as strong with when I realized the motion comics were a thing and I was like this is my calling for what I'm doing on YouTube right now.
Mm-hmm.
But with like stop motion and stuff, I think some of my old ones are up on YouTube. I did some Spider-Man stuff, some stuff with some Khameleon figures. I used what was it? Pickpack, I think it was called.
Okay.
Pickpack animator, and it was on my Galaxy S4. And I used there's an awesome figure that I ordered. It was a Spider-Man by Figma.
Mm.
It was the Amazing Spider-Man Figma figure from Japan. It's like the coolest, one of the coolest figures.
Oh
I've
yeah,
ever
I've
seen.
seen it. It looks like a really cool figure too.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I just looked at it and went, ooh, shiny. And like picked it up and I was like, I have to have this. So I got that and I started animating and I never really made any full videos, kind of just little clips that I had ideas for. But then I moved on to stop motion, or not stop motion, motion comics.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of my entire history with. I remember there's this awful video. I don't know where it is. If I find it, I'll send it to you. Where instead of like using stop motion and editing out like strings and stuff, I have this like little video where I thought it might have been a cool effect if I use this little string to hold up the Green Goblin and his glider, and it's kind of like teetering along around Spider-Man,
Right.
but it's obviously on a string, and it's like by far the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, that reminds me when I first started animating too. When I first started animating, I had these Spider-Man, Batman action figures, and I would just make these little short things, and I still have them up on one of my first channels that I had, and they're bad. they're not good. But
I did this. I had this idea with dialogue, right? So instead of like, I didn't know how to edit like audio. I didn't know how to put voice in videos. I was 14, so like I had this piece of paper and I just wrote the dialogue on the side of the paper, put it in front of the camera. I was like, this is genius.
Right.
So like I did that, and I remember almost every time starting off every Spider-Man video with some sort of subplot where Aunt May needs to get eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need you to get eggs for me, Peter, and he's like, all right, and then so he runs into someone. It always starts off with him needing to go get eggs for Aunt May, and I don't know why, but looking back, it's really funny.
Yeah, I remember when when I first started, I had nothing. I just had my phone at the time when animating, and I would just like voice over it, and you can clearly tell I'm just right behind the phone, just talking. Like it was so. I mean, we all had to start somewhere in terms of whatever.
I was definitely like one of those hype people where like I made trailers for things, but then they never came out.
I did the same thing too.
Like This summer, Spider-Man fights, I don't know, the Flintstones, and like it never comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. I would do the same thing. I remember I would promote all these ideas. I would have all these ideas, but they just never went through with them, and I just
They never
never.
go anywhere.
Yeah, they never went anywhere. Exactly. So I know exactly what you mean, man. And yeah, going on close to my last question here, essentially, what would you like to say to your fans and followers, like people like who just follow you on Instagram or have been with you on YouTube, or so? What would you like to say to them?
My God, why have you stuck with me this long? That's what I. That's pretty much it. No, I'm really thankful for everyone that follows me, and like I said, I don't know why, but if people enjoy my stuff, I'm gonna keep putting it out. I'm just thankful for the people who are there to enjoy it. Like, I'm never gonna ask you to do anything for me. My sole job here is to put out stuff for you, to enjoy. You know, whether it be on this channel, Khameleon Studios, whether it be on my Instagram, whether it be in Press at the Start.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I'm an entertainer at heart, and I think that's what I'll be for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I actually like as somebody who's been an entertainer and who I can see I think I see myself as an entertainer in a form, shape, or form, but you know, I know what it's like to go through that journey, and I just wish you the best of luck and everything in terms of not the stop motion, but the short films and all that stuff and your acting career. So like, I just commend you for putting yourself out there and doing what you do best, man. I really do.
You too, man. You know, I'm gonna commend you for keeping on going on with stop motion when I give up.
Yeah, I get it. Thanks everybody for listening and watching to the interview. Check out Khameleon slash that Spider Boy out. I'll put his Instagram and YouTube in description, and also the channel for his podcast and everything. Please check him out. You know, support him. Definitely deserves it. So yeah, again, thanks for coming on, man.